Sound is good. There we go. We were unmuted. Bloody thing. But hello. I'll just repeat myself. Welcome. It's the 5th of September, and today is the last day for the planning application for the 54 dwellings on the former sports ground Station Road in North Walsham. Just waiting to see if other people are going to comment. I've done mine. I've sent mine in. It's not showing as yet. But if we click over on to documents, bear with me. Right, it should be this page. Yeah, there we go. Okay, can you see what I see? We have a few responses yesterday, on the 3rd and on the 2nd. Okay, I believe 29B Station Road we've already had a read. Crowhurst Station Road, I'm sure we had a look. Oh yeah, to do with the nesting boxes, wasn't it? The other one, hang on a sec, I just need to take that one off. Here's me, here's big me. Onto this one. Okay, we have an Anglia Water response on the 2nd. Let's have a look. Let's have a read. See what they have to say. Wowzers. They don't want to be contacted, do they? Okay. Detailed parents. Well, that is what we know. Assets affected. Assets is close to or crossing this site, and assets are subjected to an adoption agreement. It's because it goes across to Oak Road. Water waste treatment. We have received the applicant submitted the flood risk assessment drainage strategy, part 1 to 3. And consider that the impacts on the public foul sewage networks are acceptable to Anglian Water at this stage. Yeah, I'm sure. I've not said anything about the, oh, come on. Flooding risk, have they? Flood risk assessment drainage strategy. Submit to support the planning application. The proposed method of surface water management does not relate to Anglian Water operated assets. We are unable to provide comment to the suitability of the surface water management. Okay. Because it is still a known it's still a known floodplain, really. I was only talking to somebody yesterday about it. Okay, back to this one. Historic environment response. Let's see what this one's about. Okay, formal grant. Thank you for consulting us with the above listed building application. I apologise for the delay in our response. We have no comments to make. If you have any questions or would like to discuss our recommendations, please contact Historic Environment Strategy and Advice Team at. They don't want to know. They don't want us to know their details either. Okay, back to the screen. Objection 29B, Station Road, North Walsham. Let's check this one out. Okay. Alrighty. Right, member of the public starts. Customer objects to the planning application. Comment reasons. Comment, I object to this application for the following reasons. Right, here we go. The site plan and proposed layout submitted differ significantly from the ones included within the approved application, PO 20/1251. With the new housing having been moved much closer to Station Road and therefore the existing houses residents without any justification having been made. There needs to be balance struck between the need for new housing and the impact it will have on existing residents. This proposal does not do that. Very true. Sorry, just big pink arrow again. The Greenwich Design Stage BNG assessment makes an assumption that all trees currently on site will be maintained when considering what habitat enhancements will be required to achieve the minimum 10% BNG improvement that planning policy requires. However, the application suggests that 2 trees, in additions of 24 metres of mature hedgerow, it's actually gone up to 46 metres. If you bury your way into some of those documents, you will actually find it written there. So they're actually taking away more than the proposed 24 metres. Anyway, getting back to it. Will be lost to enable the creation of vehicle pedestrian access to the site. Therefore, there is an inconsistency in the submitted documents that should be resolved and further consultation undertaken prior to determination on the application being made. The swept path analysis for refuge vehicles contained within the designed and access statement shows that access is only potentially possible by making a right turn in and out of the site. Very true. And you have to reverse. Station Road is narrow and far below current standards that apply to the construction of new roads and pathways. Requiring refuge vehicles to make right turns to enter and leave the site will be a danger to pedestrians and other road users, particularly as Station Road is a bus route. Do you know what? You're absolutely right. I never even thought about that. That's going to be crazy. Crazy. Right. Sorry. God, never thought about that. But that's true. Okay, where was I? With the swing out of the rear refuge vehicle when turning right, the vehicles will undoubtedly overhang existing gardens, driveways when making the turn right to such site, which is an unacceptable situation, showing that the access, in fact, located in the wrong place. Absolutely true. There is an existing vehicle and pedestrian access to Victory Swim and Fitness further east along Station Road, which could and should be used to access the application site, as it benefits from acceptable existing vision displays and would require only minor realignments to the junctions and alterations to the existing car park. Using this excess would also mean no existing mature trees or hedgerows would need to be removed and the streetscape would be maintained. I'm not sure whether or not, I mean, that would be ideal if it was all to go ahead, but going through the car park, I think about that one. These points about the unsuitability of the access and danger to pedestrians and other road users are amplified when you consider the numerous articulated lorries that will be required to deliver materials for development and to be undertaken. And you've also got to take into account the amount of deliveries as well. Shop deliveries and stuff, you know. New fridges, beds, they're big lorries, aren't they? Due to the narrowness of the large power, where was I? Due to the narrowness of Station Road, a lorry or bus cannot pass large passenger vehicles without one or the other taking refuge on a private driveway or mounting the pedestrian pathway. Very true again. At the north of the site, connectivity to Weavers Way is suggested. However, there is no proposal for the upgrade of the current loose gravel footpath surface, meaning that this route for accessing the town centre amenities and the GP surgeries on Park Lane will not be available to anyone with a mobility impairment needing to use a wheelchair or parents to young children in pushchairs or buggies. Yeah. You see, because when it rains, if anybody walks down that part of Weavers Way at the north of this site, you will notice that the gravel all dips down, because when it rains, it becomes a river and it all goes down towards the second bridge just near the dog park, which is just right near this. So again, it just shows how the water runs when it rains, but this is not acceptable and a potential breach of equality and accessibility legislation. I hate that word, legislation. Always that word. For this connectivity to be promoted as benefit of this planning application, the applicant should be required to improve the pedestrian surface along Weavers Way so that this route into town is accessible to all. Absolutely right. But somehow they've managed to get, is it £16,000 towards, I believe it was Paston Way. Why it's not being used towards Weavers Way, I don't know. But that was on one of the other videos. Interesting compliments there, comments. Very good, interesting ones. Right, let's go back to this page and see who's next. Okay. LAFA response. What on earth does that mean? Okay. There we go, we're on this one. Infrastructure. 4th September. Sean Penfold, who is the county councillor of North Norfolk. And again, look, case officer, Robert Jackson, flood risk officer, reviewed by Dean Shelton, senior flood risk officer. It's screaming in everybody's faces of the flood risk. Okay, thank you for your consultation on the above site, received 11th of August 2025. We have reviewed the application and submitted and wish to make the following comments. This is the first LLFA consultation for this reserved matters application following approved of outline planning permission dated 23rd of December 2024. The LLAF, what does that mean? I will look for that in a minute. Note that this decision notice includes condition 20, which relates to surface water and flood risks, As condition 20 relates directly to aspects that impact the site layout, this must be fully addressed prior to removal of LLAF objections and the reserved matters application. Therefore, the LLAF have reviewed the information submitted to date against the requirements of condition 20. Condition 20 of the decision notice is worded as follows. There shall be no commencement of the development hereby permitted until details design of a surface water drainage system is in accordance with the submitted flood risk assessment received on the 27th of July 2020 and the surface water drainage strategy overview plan received on the 27th of July 2020 contained within has first been submitted and approved by writing the local plan. They have known for the last 5 years. Detailed design shall address the following matters. Finished ground floor levels of properties are a minimum of 300 mil above expected flood level of all sources of flooding, including SUDS features within any proposed drainage scheme, or 150 mil above ground level, whichever is the more precautionary. A maintenance and management plan detailing the activities required, details of whom will adopt and maintain the surface water drainage features for the lifetime of the development. Is that going to fall to the groundsman of North Walsham Town Council? Are the taxpayers got to take this on? Or will Town Council get additional money to deal with this lifetime of the development? Because it's not going to go away, is it? There should be no occupation of the development hereby permitted until the approved scheme has first been implemented in accordance with approved details. Reasons: to prevent flooding in accordance with national planning policy framework by ensuring satisfactory management of local source of flooding, surface water flow paths, storage and dispersal of surface water from site in a range of rainfall events, and ensure the SUDS proposed operates as designed for the lifetime of the development. The LLAF note that the proposals remain consistent with those agreed at outline planning, surface water to be discharged via a combination of small soakaways, filter drains, permeable paving and large infiltration basin feature. Therefore, have no objections to this reserved matter application. However, we do have a number of recommendations set out as an informed list below. Ah, dear. However, we do retain some concerns to the long-term management of shared soakaways. We would request that, if possible, smaller individual soakaways to be considered to fit within the private curtilage for each property, or measures to be put in place formally responsible to ensure. So that's water. Would I buy a property with a soakaway or even a shared soakaway? What is the cost of that? How does that impact house insurance? Should properties be sold to private ownership in the long term, the property management and maintenance of these features continue. Yours sincerely. What do we think about that, guys? Okay, back to this page. We have another objection, 29B Station Road. Right, let's see what. You guys still with me? Nope, hang on, let me just bring this up. Okay, you with me? Good, good. Okay, let's read this one. Application, customer detail, member of the public, objections to planning application. I object to this planning application for the following reasons. There are contradictions with the submitted design and access statement, landscape detail. Is this the same one? Has he? No, I think it's another part of his objection. Okay, let's go through it. There are contradictions within submitted design and access statement, landscape detailed planting proposals, and NBG design stage assessment with regard to the extent of trees and hedge removal proposed to enable the formation of the proposed pedestrian vehicle access to the site from Station Road. Any approved containing a condition requiring the applicant to undertake the development in accordance with the submitted documents could not therefore be complied with due to these contradictions. Therefore, updated and coordinated documents must be submitted and a further public consultation undertaken so that there is clarity on the proposed prior to the application being considered for determination. That was a lot of big words. Okay, the applicant has not submitted a statement of community involvement, which is contravention of the published list of required documents according to the NNDC website for an application for full planning consent to be validated. Such a statement should therefore be required to be submitted and a further period of consultation undertaken prior to the application being considered for determination. That is very true. Now, let's just check this screen one more time because I can't see it anywhere. So what I am going to do is I'm going to bring up the email that I had in response, because when you sign into this website to comment on the planning application, you get to write everything and then you send it off and you get an email back. However, I've received an email, but it's not been uploaded to this site. So just bear with me. Just bear with me, because what I was trying to do is my front door. Just wait for a second. Okay, here we go. Let me find that. Here we go, and I'll read it to you. This is what I wrote. Bear with me. There we go. So my concerns are the fact that this field... Oh, I've lost it. Hang on. Sorry. My concerns are the fact that this field has flooding risks. They seem to be acknowledged because of the amount of soakways that are being placed within the boundaries of each garden to a attenuation basin. This 1.6 metre depth basin may be okay alongside motorways where pets and children never get a chance to be near, but within boundaries of this proposed neighbourhood, a disaster is waiting to happen. Eventually stale, smelly water being retained until it is able to drain. Will it be fenced? Will it be a teenager hotspot for antisocial behaviour? How will it be maintained and by whom? Taxpayers? No streetlights or possible floodlights in an area of complete darkness in this area. Will this affect their house insurance, knowing this area is a flood risk? I do object to this proposal as the area is unsuitable due to the risks of flooding. The surrounding areas, for example, Norwich Road Bridge floods and becomes an unsuitable road to the A149 bypass. The skate park, a known flood risk, which is why the land was given to the council, as nothing can be built upon it. And you seem to believe that you can manage the flood risks safely with installing soakaways and a basin. Let's also talk about Oak Road, the road which will be across from these new builds. It has water issues within the infrastructure mains. It is currently facing a sinkhole in the public pavement near a drain and a manhole cover. Flagship, Victory also oversee these properties and seem to have a poor reputation amongst some of their residents when it comes to the overall timing and works being carried out. I also object to the amount of homes being built in this green area. 1,800 homes are proposed at the other end of Station Road. So why is this green area needing to be filled with 54 more of these homes? This field is the only field in North Walsham West that could be used for better purposes for the public and residents of this ward. A public path, allotments, local events in the area is more needed. I also object to 2 beautiful trees and now 46 metres of a lovely hedgerow to be cut down. Just planting more trees and renewing hedgerows for your target of 10% net zero, which is obviously the BNG net zero, and causing more risk of flooding with so much coverage of concrete. I've seen many young trees die because they have not been cared for around surrounding motorways and neighbourhoods, and the existing life that has established roots in this field cut. I have tried to go through all the documents. Maybe in future it would be a good idea to send the details to each household in good time. It hasn't been well advertised, plus North Walsham Town has objected to this development twice now. It's a shame that Paston Foundation has agreed to the sale. North Walsham Town Council, with the amount of money they have in their bank account, perhaps could have purchased this land and retained some of North Walsham's land from developers. Because every little bit of inside of North Walsham is slowly going with its beauty and rambler spots like Paston Way Walk, where the 330 new builds will happen on Munsley Road. Weaver's Way Walk, where the history of Paston's peasants' revolt happened. Awaiting to see what happens next in your consultation with locals that hasn't happened yet. Yes, that was me letting off steam. But I will keep an eye on what is being placed on this website, and I strongly advise anybody to do the same thing. Otherwise, write to Mel Gray, the councillor. Let's watch this space. I guess the deadline closes at 5 o'clock this evening. And hopefully I shall have a quick look to see if anybody else has put an objection in. But until then, catch you later.